everybody, it's Red Shirt, Red Duck, with you to raise the latest pro wrestling news and results as Wrestling Day. And it's about that time once again, versus Impact versus Ring of Honor, where we look at the head-to-head battle on Thursday nights. And quite an interesting week, particularly on the Ring of Honor side. We had a really long show at 2 hours and 40 minutes of time. Ring of Honor was this week with a, I think, 13-match card, 12 matches particularly. We're in Chicago at the Collision taping that I was at last Saturday in Chicago. And they aired all of that plus a match from the previous week, which I believe was Colorado Springs, or I can't remember where exactly they were for Dynamite. That kicked off Ring of Honor as well. It was a bloated show by all means. And over on Impact, they kind of had two kind of things going on. They were trying to continue to push forward on the promotion for Slammiversary coming up in July. And as well, they were really pushing hard on promotion for the Impact shows in Australia. And my mask is really itching me. The Impact shows in Australia next weekend in Wega. Never heard of the place, but they're going to be on Fight TV, so I'll probably be doing reviews of those two shows on Friday and Saturday from Australia with some interesting matches on those shows. And I would assume coming up this Thursday, there's going to be plenty more of promotion leading into those Australia shows. It's kind of a lead-in to the big Slammiversary pay-per-view. So let's get into it. Head-to-head, Impact Ring of Honor. Let's start with Impact as we usually do. The Good Hands and Brian Myers won a 6-man over OVE. And there was a moose run-in at the end of the match that costed Callahan and his crew the match. It was fine. It was a perfectly fine opener. I'd go 3 stars. Nothing too wild, but it was all right. Over on Ring of Honor. Now, before we get into everything with Ring of Honor, I'm just going to say once again, Ring of Honor was 2 hours and 40 minutes of actual broadcast time this week. Impact, on the other hand, only has about 90 minutes of content. So, made for kind of an interesting, how do I compare these this week? Basically, this is going to be like math here. Every 12 minutes is technically a quarter-hour segment for Impact, typically, and it will continue this week. But Ring of Honor's quarter-hour length time is 20 minutes. So keep that in mind when I'm comparison here. Opener of Ring of Honor was Tony Khan, Jerry Lynn, Stokely Hathaway with Samoa Joe presenting him with a new Ring of Honor television title. So very interesting that they went with that and gave Joe a new television title. I didn't know it was maybe necessary, but I think that was one of the titles that kind of was held over from the previous Ring of Honor regime. Some of the other titles were recreated, so I guess it was time they did it here for Joe. And then we had a match from, like I said, not taped last week in Chicago. This was on a Dynamite taping, I believe, in Colorado Springs. The Lucha Brothers, El Pacino, and Commander were Butcher the Blade, Chris Sabian, and Serpentico. Match was fine. Lots of high spots for sure. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but I definitely would give Ring of Honor the nod for this first quarter hour. Back over to Impact. Eddie Edwards and Kazarian had a thing in the back where Edwards was like, hey, trust me, they're having a match on the main event tonight against Steve Macklin and Bully Ray. Also, we had Rich Swann approaching Sami Callahan, saying he can trust him and he'll be on his side in this upcoming stuff with Moose. Dirty Dango had a match over Bhapinder Dajjar. It was just there. This is more a backdrop to Santino coming in and basically doing a Cobra on Dirty Dango after the match. We're probably going to see that match at Slammiversary again. Boy, this mask is just fucking me up tonight. Man, oh man. Over on Ring of Honor, a fantastic match. This was the opening match at the Collision taping. Gringo Loco over Willie Mack in a hell of a match. You gotta see this. I think this came better off even on TV than when I saw it the first time in the arena. This was bordering a 4-star match, folks. Gringo Loco over Willie Mack, top rope Spanish fly for the finish. You gotta see it, guys. And actually, that was, looking at this here, that actually was the first segment still of Ring of Honor. So that went, all of that stuff went head-to-head with Good Hands over OVE. So I'm still going to give Ring of Honor that first hour quarter. Now we go to the second hour quarter. We talked about on Impact with Dirty Dangle's match. Over on Ring of Honor, we had Trish Adora over Allison Kay. We also had Kyle Fletcher over Silas Young. I will go Ring of Honor for this one as well. Third quarter hour of each show. Jody Threaten and Nevaeh had a segment they showed where I think Jody Threaten went over Nevaeh. It was like on BTI. We also got Nevaeh in a segment with Jessica and Courtney Rush in the back, talking about their alter egos. And if you remember, Nevaeh was tag partners with Havoc, so they're doing something there. Zicky Dice also got basically cemented in, so to speak, as an Impact referee. So the idea here is Zicky Dice is going to cheat on behalf of Johnny Swinger to finally give him that win. We'll see what happens. Over on Ring of Honor, we had the Embassy in a squash, and we also had Dalton Castle over Josh Woods. Once again, folks, Ring of Honor. Just got to keep going with it here. Then we get to Speedball Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham over the design over on Impact for quarter hour number 4. I really liked this match, I'll tell you. Also, there was a flashback to Jeff Hardy and Magnus from back in the days of Dixie Carter. This was where Nick Aldis or Magnus won his first Impact World Championship. It gave a good 3-4 minutes of time on this flashback, a little longer than usually they do. Over on Ring of Honor, not a bad quarter hour either for them. They had some storyline stuff with Stokely Hathaway, the Kingdom and the Embassy to set up the match with the Embassy and the Kingdom. And, you know, I remember watching this in front of a very small crowd in Chicago, and the work was pretty uninspiring. Came off a lot better on TV. I don't know if there were some edits. But the Embassy did get a big win over the Kingdom on this one. For that, it was set at least a little normal. I'm going to give Impact a nod on this one. I thought that the match with Gresham and Speedball over the design was not too shabby. Trinity did a promo on Impact in quarter hour 5 where she was basically challenging Jay Vidal next week on Impact TV, and we're going to get that match. Also, Jimmy Jacobs was doing he was like Nick Aldis' personal interviewer, if you remember some of the storylines prior. Well, Aldis wasn't on this show. Jimmy Jacobs was speaking for him a little bit. Out came Alex Shelley, got into a little bit with Jimmy Jacobs, who, as you know, is now out of Impact. So I'm thinking they may have taped something here where next week we see Alex Shelley maybe taking out Jimmy Jacobs to explain why he's leaving the company. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Also, Killer Kelly went over Taylor Wilde here in this quarter hour. It was all right. Match was okay. And then afterwards, Masha Slamovich came out and kind of basically helped Killer Kelly. So it looks like we're going to be seeing Masha and Killer Kelly in a match with the Coven, perhaps for those Impact Knockout Tag Championships. Over on Ring of Honor, Big Bill and Lee Moriarty went over Matt Sydal and Blake Christian. And it was okay. It was all right. The Kingdom also did a promo coming off that loss to the Embassy. They wanted another match with them. And then the Dark Order took on named the Bang Brothers, who are, I think, Chicago locals. Pretty quick match. Afterwards, the Righteous and Stu Grayson were on the video screen. kind of challenging the Dark Order the next week. I don't know if that really happened. I guess we'll see what happened. They taped Ring of Honor tonight with Collision, so that stuff will be coming out shortly on what all happened coming up on Ring of Honor here. So this quarter hour, I guess I will probably go Ring of Honor with that Moriarty, Big Bill, Seidel, Blake Christian match. There was a lot of good, hard-hitting action in that one, for sure. Back over on Impact, we got a promo with Scott D'Amore talking about the match of Slammiversary. Joe Henry also went with Yuya Yamura for the Digital Media Championship. Hendry won. Kenny King confronted Joe Hendry afterwards, so we're probably going to see that match at Slammiversary. Over at Ring of Honor, Diamante did a promo where Mark Sterling approached her wanting to kind of make a deal to not do the match with Layla Gray, to split the prize purse and to just kind of like essentially lay down for Layla Gray. Then we get into the match with Layla Gray and Diamante. Pretty quick match. Layla Gray won by nefarious means, but I think a rematch is probably coming up the way with these two, based on a promo that even happens later on this quarter-hour segment where Diamante really wants another shot. Also in this quarter-hour, Action Andretti, Darius Martin, and AR Fox went over Shane Taylor and the Workhorsemen. I gotta give Ring of Honor once again the quarter hour on this one. They're really getting the advantage this week because they're putting out 20 minutes of in-ring versus Impact, which on a quarter hour you may see like 6 or 7 minutes at most. And then you get like a bunch of promos, vignettes, and stuff like that, generally. Speaking of lots of promos and runners and advertising, on Impact, there was a lot of runners for the Slammiversary card, the cards for the Wagga Wagga Australia shows on next Friday and Saturday. They went through that. Lots of just stuff on what's coming up next week on Impact. They also did the main event intros on this one. So yeah, there really wasn't a lot to be said on this quarter hour, and the match, the main event, started. Over on Ring of Honor, we had Daniel Garcia over Rocky Romero in a Pure Rules match. It was decent. Orange Cassidy also ran in during this match to kind of, I guess, promote the match before we have Forbidden Door with Garcia. I will give Ring of Honor the nod on this one again. And then it's main event time, folks. Main event on Impact. Steve Maclin, Bully Ray over Eddie Edwards and Kazarian. Edwards and Kazarian were fucking up at the end, basically, and Maclin and Bully Ray took advantage of it and won the match. That's the basic gist of it. This match just did not fully click to me, for sure. However, something that did fully click to me was the main event on Ring of Honor, and this actually ran into I think a little bit into the previous quarter hour. The match itself was about 20 minutes with intros and video packages, giving about 25 minutes of time. Ring of Honor Women's Championship Chicago Street Fight. Athena went over Kiera Hogan. Lots of wild spots in this match. You can check out a lot of the highlights right here at Wrestling Rants. If you look back at the Ring of Honor clips I dropped, there's spots with the thumbtacks, there's spots with tables, there's spots with a scaffolding chair spot that basically in the match that was wild. You should really check this match out. I gave it, now seeing it on TV, a solid 4 stars. Athena really looked great here against Kiera Hogan, and Kiera Hogan held her own as well. After the match, Athena did a promo in the back with Lexi Nair, where she kind of threatened Lexi Nair. So I don't know if they're going to have a match next, or who's coming out of the woodwork against Athena next in Ring of Honor. I guess the time will tell. But, man, a walk away this week for Ring of Honor. 7 quarter-hour segments to just one on Impact. Ouch, ouch, ouch. That is what it is. So, all right, come on back here. We got Laying the Rant Down. We got a loaded Laying the Rant Down. We have AEW news, we have WWE news, and we have Forbidden Door predictions from top to bottom on the card. There was some stuff that was just announced on Collision, so we will talk about that in Laying the Rant Down. Come on back right here. That's all right.